She's a good presenter and she knows her stuff. She's got lynda.com videos and books out and things like that. Great. Hey there, how you doing, buddy?
The whole party's here.
The whole party's here. It's alright. He comes to these things anyway. It's that marine network thing.
Hmm?
I said it's that marine network thing, you know.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You're Marine too?
You're a Marine too.
Yeah.
My husband is a Marine.
That's what they say.
Largest fraternity in the world, they say.
Restroom?
Yep, there's a key here. So on the back wall.
Command Shift 2 to finish recording.
I didn't know he was coming this evening. He had talked to me about it, about coming and videoing, you know, the talks. But
the video guy?
Yeah, I didn't know he was turning up. I didn't know he was coming. Because he videos the talks for PHP and JavaScript. Well, feel free to talk amongst yourself and network. Make the most of this while we're waiting for the projector to arrive.
So who works in InDesign now? Alright, cool. Well, yeah, hold them up real fast. Let me see how many. Alright, cool. I'm trying to cater to beginners and to folks that use it. So we'll see how that goes. This is my first talk on InDesign, probably on any software like this, so we'll see how it goes.
Hey, we appreciate it.
Huh?
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
If anybody else ever wants to talk, just contact us. We're just looking for, keep the meet up free so that people can come along. And if anybody wants to talk, then that's great. That saves us, you know.
Who's sent anything to print? Who's sent products to print, like to websites online or to local printers? Raise your hands. Cool.
What kind of stuff y'all doing? Those that are working on InDesign, what do you do with it?
I'm an art director, so I do just about everything. Outdoor boards to books, whatever.
What about, didn't you have?
Yeah, I've done just about everything, but lately like newsprint, newspaper, type something.
Cool.
Who else working on InDesign? What you doing?
I've done brochures. I work for an in-house communications department, branding. I've done print brochures, pamphlets, and I do a lot of PDF stuff now.
So why are you guys that use it here? What do y'all? Do you just want to see somebody else's workflow? Do you want to what?
Yeah, if there's new things to learn about workflow.
Cool.
Always assume there's something new or a way to use.
Sure.
And actually, CS6 is a little newer to me, so.
Gotcha.
And I haven't read the manual.
Yeah. And for those who have never used InDesign, do you do any print work now, maybe in Photoshop or something like that?
Yeah.
And you want to know why InDesign is the right choice? Is that kind of why you're here, or?
What about somebody who wants to hire somebody to use InDesign?
I'll just give you my card. So you don't want to use it, you just want to see it? There you go. Nice. I get half that.
I want to understand it so that I know what I'm asking for.
Okay, cool. And those who don't use InDesign, any other input is what you're looking for?
I just want to learn it. I have it there. It's on the cloud.
Who's not open to design ever?
Who's not what?
Opened InDesign ever?
Oh. You haven't?
No.
Oh my.
Who's opened InDesign but don't know where to go from there? Who uses Photoshop right now? Who uses Illustrator? Cool. Okay. And those who use Illustrator, what do you use Illustrator for? Okay. Who gets paid for work in the field?
That's my
Cool.
goal.
Sure. Cool. Any other good questions that I can answer?
No, but you're on a roll here.
All right, sweet.
One thing you might want to talk about, or I know you might want to address, sometimes I have clients or other people who are giving me files, like from brochure or for a publication, and they got it all set up in like crazy layered Illustrator and Photoshop files. It's actually, it's an InDesign project. Should have been set up in InDesign from the get-go, and I end up having to redo things for people in InDesign, which is the appropriate publishing software.
Right. So you're getting Illustrator files with a bunch of text in them? Are they EPSs? Is that really what they are, or are they actually AI?
All different, people.
Well, what I mean is sometimes they export them as EPS, so they're outlined and all that
Some
stuff.
of them are Photoshop EPS.
Yeah, okay.
But the problem is that people will think they can design a booklet
Right.
in Photoshop.
Sure.
Well, Photoshop is not a publishing and typography,
Sure.
software.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, no, I have a book in Word.
Oh.
The author was thought was ready to go to the printer, but the printer needed it in InDesign.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
So what's the difference between InDesign and, I mean, I know what Illustrator is
Sure.
more for creative and,
Right.
You want
So-
image to crisp image.
Right. So InDesign it is vector, just as Illustrator is vector. It's not vector like what Daniel does. He draws with Illustrator. InDesign isn't for drawing, yet you can use it for, let's say, masking or putting in vector images into the document. I don't think we have a projector yet. I thought that's what you were doing. But so it's more like a layout program that you utilize as the hub. That's sort of why I use that name. Is you use it so you put Photoshop, Illustrator, any files. You even can put movies in it now into InDesign as a document. So it's it's like PageMaker. If anybody uses PageMaker, I guess Kimberly mentioned that it was like Publisher, which is a Microsoft one that I never got into. It's like Quark, sure, that we don't talk about anymore. I had a Quark file that was in 6, I believe, and then I remembered we had to export it down 17, it wasn't 17, but so many different versions just to get it into the Adobe version. So what I'm going to show you guys tonight, once I can show you, is I made this document. I'm using a couple different techniques. It's not a very pretty document, but I'm using different techniques to show you sort of what it can do and maybe the right workflow for mass production. Meaning if you have a document that you want duplicated for different reasons, I'm using something called data merge. Does anybody use data merge? Cool. Okay, so it's like mail merge. If you've ever printed envelopes in Microsoft Word and Office or Excel, right? So that's what I'm using. I'm importing some information. So basically the idea of this document is, once you see it, it's a sales slick for multiple computer companies. And I have an Excel spreadsheet that you can import data into it, and it changes it up. So that's kind of cool. And then there's also some different functionality that, functionality is not the right word, but different, just ways that you use InDesign so it makes your documents consistent. If you have, say, a 20-page catalog, you can call one thing header, and it'll make anything that sort of tags its header a header. And this is all great as I'm talking, but once you see it, it'll make some more sense. So there's that.
Tell us about you, what you've been doing, and how you get a PF.
Yeah, so I've been on my own for about 3 years. I hate the word freelance, but I have a business called Kickstand Creative, and I do web and print marketing for small and medium-sized businesses. Print was just sort of something I learned from my last job before I started on my own, and I enjoy it. I think it's cool. It's neat to send something to the printer and get it back in a tangible form. So I enjoy that aspect of it. I meant to bring my Pantone books so everybody could sort of see how you do color workflow.
I'm sure they have some here.
But I forgot. Oh yeah, you're right. You're definitely right.
A Pantone book?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll go with that.
So does anybody? I know there's some people that do print work, but have never sent stuff out. I don't know. So anyway, let's see. It's hard to know what to talk about without a projector. So I could go through the functionality of it. So CMYK versus RGB, is that something people would like to know about, or already know about, I guess? So CMYK is cyan, magenta, CMY, yellow, and black, okay? K is black. And that's how you send stuff to the printer sometimes. You also could send stuff as Pantone swatch, which is a bunch of different colors that they actually mix by hand and match something. RGB is what's on the computer, and you can convert it to CMYK, but that's what you see on your monitor. So whenever you send stuff to print, you always want to send it to CMYK, because that's what the printer will understand. Does anybody else have a better explanation than that, or add on? Let's make this a group thing. Go ahead.
Well, in the past, sheet fed printing was...
Yeah, I think you mentioned that at the last meetup, and I was interested in that. Go ahead.
Oh, well, because I've been a print designer for since the dinosaur age, but, and now I'm working more in web and WordPress. But in the world of print, CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, black, indicated the 4 units on a standard sheet fed press with sheets of paper going through, and there were cylinders literally with those 4 processed colors. Well, today, a lot of presses still use CMYK, but they are digital presses. There's all kinds of, I'm going to say, the way, when I began my career, the way that print media was prepared for output or for printing was very different than the way it's prepared today. There's much fewer steps, there's a lot less material, you can proof things digitally. PDF is a format that's widely used now by just about every printer. So if you have an annual report that in the past you had to go through many rounds of revisions and look at all kinds of proofs on glossy paper and mark them up, and then they'd have a pre-press guy fix it for you. Well, now you can look at a PDF and they'll show you a very simple colored digital proof, and you can make corrections to the PDF. But the thing that's happening now, especially with some of my clients who have short run projects, it's not even actual printing. It's not going on a printing press. It's going on a digital output device, sort of like a high-end color laser printer.
Is the color gamut different or better or worse?
Well, they still end up, for example, if you have a business card and it's prepared in 2 Pantone colors, 2 PMS colors, if the client, if it's critical that those colors match, like if you're working for Coca-Cola or something, and that actually has to be the specific Pantone color, well, then you're probably going to want to put it on a little more expensive press that's going to print in Pantone colors, 2 ink colors or 4 ink colors, specific to Pantone, because otherwise digital output devices interpret Pantone colors as 4-color process. So your purple...
And now 7 color.
How's that?
Some of them.
Oh, sure. Light black.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's Geographics down near the airport has like a 10-color press, and you can do like 4-color process plus a spot color of your corporate Pantone color, whatever. But the tricky thing I'm finding now is people want a very close match to their actual color, their Pantone color, but each digital output device will interpret that Pantone color a little differently in its set of CMYK toner. We're not even talking about ink. It's not like ink on a press. It's digital. So if you have, say...
Aren't they swapped?
Well,
they're supposed to be?
Here's the tricky part. You're doing it on, and I'm just saying this through sad experience. You're doing an envelope for an event, and you're doing a card, and you're doing replies, and you're doing stuff. The envelopes might not print on this. No, this can't. So depending on where these
are bigger than I have.
Print, the color will vary.
Each one.
So color can become
I send everything of mine. I use a company called Got Print, and they seem to do all 4-color.
Yeah, but they're not local.
True.
And I have to say, people support your local.
Yeah, of course. But when the price is 5 times as much,
I know. You know what? People also can get online and get cheap graphic design.
Sure. Oh, of course. Definitely, 100%. Yeah.
I like dealing local because then you can reach over and choke them when stuff is
That's right. That's what somebody told me. He was like, I know where you live. I know where you sleep. So he'll come after me. So these are, I was looking for Bridge. And Bridge is it shows you the conversion of, what's a really bad color that converts bad? I don't know your name. Gray? Well,
I just experienced this when I just finished school.
Like with the blue or something like that, it just went really bad?
It just was, I mean, the whole printing experience, and that's not my background,
Sure.
but from web to printing on a 18 by 24 board to resumes to business cards.
They just looked all way different.
It was a fiasco.
So
and that was with FedEx. And I did not know this, but those printers that they have behind the desk that you see all the text using.
Oh, you mean you were printing at FedEx?
Yes,
okay.
I had them print it to my resume because I was doing color resumes.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for whatever reason, thought the printers that were behind that nice fancy counter
would be good.
High quality printers. And the lady there told me that that's not the case. Those printers back there are the same printers that are out on the floor.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you probably don't want to go to FedEx to get stuff printed. They probably don't calibrate. I mean, the average customer doesn't care, and most of my clients, they don't really care, but we care.
For somebody like myself, I mean, this was a school project, and I had to have color resumes, and I tried to support my local business, which I did with most of my print products that I had, but
everybody's stabbing me now.
There was one 18 by 24 board that I had to have for the class that the local place could not do to the way I wanted it done, so I had to go to FedEx, and I thought, well, I'll just have them do the resumes as well, since they're a little bit cheaper than the other place.
Yep.
And they ran my resume on 3 different printers, and each one of them came out a different color.
And so what color was it shifting to?
It would come out from a dark gray to a greenish gray to a purplish gray.
And do you know what your CMYK amount was?
No, off the top of my head, no.
Because usually you probably, with black, you just want to do a gradient of black. You want to do like 50%, and that you can look in the program and see that don't use any cyan, magenta, or yellow, just use black, and you can shade it down to 10%. So then, but a lot of printers say, hey, put in a little bit here and there to give you a nice rich black, they call it. But you don't want to use rich black on text, because then sometimes you'll get your small text.
Does everyone know what rich black is?
Does everyone know what rich black is? You probably can explain it better than I can. No, go ahead. Well, rich black is not just using one black ink. It's using maybe adding 40% yellow could be a rich black. Is that true?
Some people use cyan, but that's if you're doing a big flood background. And typefaces, obviously, you just want 100% black.
Right. So then you don't have any shift.
Well, this wasn't for a typeface. This was
Sure.
for the whole.
Right. But you still should only be using just K at a percentage without anything else in it. Yeah. But still, you're going to definitely see shifts between different printers, especially if they're not, I don't know, if that's really not their business. I mean, I guess that's FedEx's business, but I don't know if quality is their business, or consistency rather.
If you want a gray, like a steel gray or a blue gray or something like that.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it wasn't like a gray that was really like, super out of the ordinary. I mean, it was just a light gray.
But again, it could be like we were talking about converting one of these to, and what you see on the screen could be completely different too.
Right, yeah. I know,
yeah.
and I know that part of it.
Sure,
It's just
yeah.
like, I figure because, FedEx is known, they stick over Kinko's for Christ's sake.
Right.
That's part of their.
But still, it's consumer stuff. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not professional. It's not like they're paying me money to make sure that this stuff is right.
FedEx Kinko's historically
Go ahead.
has not trained people to be like, critical graphic artists.
Yeah, I mean, even the local places.
They cut stuff really good. They cut stuff really good. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a lesson learned. So.
Sure. Yeah, and that's why we're all here,
Yeah.
to learn.
Now, what I'm going to say is I've worked with FedEx, Kinko's.
There you go. Cool. Oh, shoot.
I am not intentional. But I will tell you, I agree with you, they are not in the business to create a document the way that you want it.
Like Coca-Cola wouldn't go there.
They're for quick printing.
Even desperate,
That's
this
it.
would be okay.
Sure. Right. Like they're good enough. The company that I use is good enough where when it comes in, I'm happy with it, or I've been happy with it. The only thing that hasn't been happy with is maybe cutting and stuff like that for business cards. Stuff's been kind of off-angled. But other than that, I think I send stuff out with good colors, so it works.
Well, the thing we used to always do is promise people the difference between pleasing color versus critical color.
Sure.
And when you're talking critical color,
Good phrase.
you want to use, the inks that are
Right.
actual.
Right. Where somebody manually is doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Where they match the color for it in the deal and it's
you do
printing
a
out.
press check. You go there when they print it and you look and you make sure you approve it.
So you can do 4+1. So they would do everything else CMYK, and then they'd add this extra color that would be some perfect FedEx blue or whatever that you would want. Not that you were just there, so I was like FedEx. So if that's I think it's purple anyway, but that's what 4+1 means is you can do 4 plus 2 Pantone colors or 1 Pantone color.
Personally, I hate UPS, but that's okay. We can rag on them too.
They got a good brown.
They may have a good brown, but they're not very good at delivering packages. Not out of the country anyway, let's just put it that way.
So I guess everybody sent, the people who have sent stuff to print and gotten it back, what are some of the things that you've dealt with that sucked when you got your work back? And maybe we can figure out why that happened if you don't know already. Go.
Well, resolution, I did a business card for a client.
Like image resolution?
Well, there are a few issues.
Okay.
With this particular client, the online printer wanted a CMYK JPEG, a high-resolution JPEG, which seemed to usually send a PDF.
Right.
I'm telling you, after 3 rounds and a discount and blah, 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 I would never go that route again. And it was horrible. But
well, you don't get vectorized text if it had text in it,
right, the
for
whole
one.
thing, it was schlock. Here's the thing, a JPEG is a photo.
Sure.
It's pixels. And many times people will think that they will grab something off of a website and place that on a business card or a print piece, and it looks great on screen, so it's going to be great in print.
Right.
Well, it's not 300 DPI, which is a much higher resolution than web. And sometimes people get really annoyed when you tell them, no, I can't use that logo unless you want us to redraw it. You have to get me a high resolution. And it might be, if you want to explain the difference between vector and raster.
Okay,
because
so
that is a mystery to many people.
So raster is pixels. You've all seen pixelated stuff. That's kind of like zooming into the image and seeing what it's made of. All the different gradients that make an image. You've all seen those like posters that have 1,000 different pictures and it makes up like a picture of Lincoln or something like that. That's kind of like a raster image. The further you go in, you wouldn't see a pretty picture in the thing, but you would see just a color. So that's what raster is, and then vector is just lines. So you zoom in 1,000,000% almost, and all you see is a line. Sorry? Mathematical equations, yeah. It's just a point to another point.
You can make it as large as you want.
Sure, it'll scale all day long, right.
So a vector logo is going to be much, much better because you can enlarge it huge on a big banner. It'll still look crisp, even from the tiny little size it was, whereas JPEGs or Photoshop pixelated art is going to eventually blow up.
You only can go smaller. So like if you were to open up a file in Photoshop, you only can go smaller. You can't go bigger, otherwise you're going to start making it pixelated.
You can't make a silk purse out of a salad or kind of thing.
Right, right.
That's why
I didn't understand that, but I think I know what you mean.
That's why setting up a booklet in Photoshop type is silly.
Sorry?
The type in a Photoshop document is pixelated.
Right. I mean, it's still, you could print it from Photoshop. I guess you could export it to a PDF, right? Sure.
Not for a 12-page.
Like if anybody was here for Daniel's talk, he did a business card in Photoshop, and you could export that as a PDF and it'd be okay, or an EPS, and it would be vector. You could even import it into Illustrator and change the points and stuff like that if you wanted to. I wish I could show you this.
What are the chances of that?
Does anybody see a projector anywhere? They're not here. She's coming. She's near. Yeah. My phone took me to a neighborhood behind this building, even though the pinpoint was on the building. It was weird. Didn't make any sense. So who's going to try to print something after today? Nobody. Crickets. Yeah, right. Mac or PC? Mac, raise your hands. PC? Mac. Yeah. Why do you use Macs? Tell the PC people.
They rule.
Okay. A more definitive answer.
Because it's very easy, very bug-free, very clean,
that's based on the
4
hardware.
miles
Sure.
away.
Yeah. 4 miles, cool.
4 miles away.
But also, the Mac was designed from,
What was it?
Sure.
was designed for web.
Right, for typography, for all that stuff. Yeah.
It was designed to make the type look good on paper.
I see Windows 7 being bridging the gap. I think Windows 7, I guess Windows 8, I haven't used it yet, but I think in its own right, it's really bridged the gap for user interface. The workflow, getting files and importing files and moving files around. If you like Windows 7 a lot better than I guess Vista was before that, if you notice the difference, well, you're getting closer to the workflow that the Mac already had. Not to like start a debate here, but Windows 7 is really close to OS X. So there's no really reason to jump out and go, if you're interested in graphics, to go and get a PC, a Mac, unless you were really interested in doing it for whatever reason. Windows 7 is good. And Vista sucks, sure. Yeah, badly.
And Adobe supports web.
Sure. Yeah. And then the new Adobe products as well, you can put it on both machines, so you can do that if you wanted to with one license. If you're interested in doing that, it's kind of cool.
The Creative Cloud is a really, really cool thing if you don't have it. There's good prices
Don't
just
tell my
now.
wife about the license thing because I just went and bought a new laptop.
Oh, so you got that.
But I didn't want to use it.
Well, there's a lot because you get every single piece of Adobe software with it, which in itself is really good. You get the Adobe Font Folio with it, which before when you had to buy the Font Folio, I think was something like $1,100 for it.
And Typekit, which is web fonts. Does anybody work on the web in here instead of print? Cool.
Well, they took over the equivalent of Google Fonts. They took it over, Adobe took over Google Fonts. So
Well, they
that's why
bought
have
Typekit
it.
too,
Yeah.
which was I don't know who owned it before. Does anybody know?
No.
Then they took over Typekit, and now we have all those licenses.
And as I said before, they've now taken over Behance. So
right.
you can get your pro site on Behance for free for the year, which was $100 to put your portfolio online. So if you've got the cloud, it's there now free too. And they're constantly updating the software, which is really cool because there's nothing more annoying. I had CS5, and then when 5.5 came out, I was like, oh, you know, I mean, I'd only had it for a couple of months, and there was updates in 5.5 that I really wanted, but at the time I was a student, so I couldn't update the student version. So, you know, you were stuck. But now, I mean, since I logged onto the cloud, I've had so many different updates. For Dreamweaver, Photoshop, Illustrator, there's free plugins. Yeah, it's great.
Has anybody used Muse?
Yeah, I've just played about with Muse. That would be good if we can get someone to talk about Muse.
My website's built in Muse.
Really?
It's got really good SEO.
Well, when I've got like the $29.99 subscription, but after that first year, is it going to go up to $49?
Yeah.
I would assume so. We can't definitely say yes because we really don't know, because Adobe have been surprised at how fast it's been adopted. It's shocked them at how fast everybody has taken to it. I don't know why it did, because when you think about, you know, to buy like the Master Collection is like $2,700 or something ridiculous that you've got to fork out up front, and then you have to keep that software because you get no updates or whatever. But with the cloud and the fact that you can also do the odd month, you know, if you don't want to sign up for the year, it costs a bit more. But maybe you're a freelancer that only needs Photoshop for one job. Well, you can get it for a month and then stop it. Or, you know, so
And how do I
that's
tell
good.
this screen thing's still on?
But you also, as I
think I
say,
might
you're
have
getting the
stopped it.
updates
I'm not
too,
sure. What's
which
it
is
called?
indispensable, you know, when they come out with new stuff.
Can you pay for that year upfront?
No, well,
You guys
what you do is,
installed it?
if you're signing up for a year, you take it out of your bank account every month.
You have to commit to it.
Did I
Yeah.
forget to?
Or you can do it, there is another way though, I think that you can do it, that you can just do it from month to month. But you pay more for it.
It's got to be in there.
You probably can pay up front.
I'll try that again.
I don't see why Adobe wouldn't take a whole year off you once.
Well, you know, it said you left, and it said something about a license.
What would be the advantage of getting on Adobe Cloud versus just, if you're ready for an upgrade, just buying CS6?
Okay.
Well, it's just the fact that
So what do I need to do here?
some people can't fork out the money for CS6. Right out of pocket. It's a lot of money. It's like about $1,800 or whatever it is, right? $1,400.
Okay.
Whereas if you pay monthly,
do I need to leave this open?
and if you already have a CS from CS6
So is it still running in that package? Because I just
It's not
then
running
you've
yet.
got that special
No,
price
but I mean,
now
it's not
at
running from the application.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
So if you're at CS5, you'll be able to join that.
Yeah,
without-
as long as you've got
Close this
CSP
one
upwards,
and launch the one
then
from.
yes, you can do it. And you've got, as I say, you've got all the software, and you've got
Yeah, so
upgrades
once the
that you don't
projector
have
sees
to got
it,
CS6. Because I had CS6 on my computer, I had the master collection, and when I went to the cloud, I got a whole bunch of updates. I was shocked at how many updates I had from the master collection. I'm like, wow. So there is a lot of updates.
So if you don't have anything, you have to buy the program first.
Then if you don't have anything, no, you can get it online, but you don't get it at such a cheap price.
Yeah. So here we are, I'll come and start it.
Yeah, a month. You have to commit to a year. But as I say,
Just as a backup to
I know that
backup.
if you're going to use it,
I won't try to why
plus the fact that you can download it on
Can make my stuff slow.
computers, like,
Will you hand me that
or
one?
you have to buy software,
No,
you
it's
have to
It's
buy
fine.
Mac
It's not a big deal.
or PC.
You have enough hardware
With the
space,
cloud,
right? This
you can
will
install
probably go
one
for,
on a PC.
depending on how
and
many.
that's
Oh, no.
the same
It should go
software, so
for
you don't have to think
maybe,
about 2 lots of 3,
That's a
so
monitor.
that you can get it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, good, so.
The lady's on her way.
No, 2 computers for the cloud, so you can install it onto your, there's 2 computers for them all, but, and the cloud is the same. Yeah, you can't do them at the same time.
192, is that enough?
You have to do 1 computer at a time.
Yeah.
But then you can do it on PC or Mac, so it's worth it.
Should only go
If you've got a Mac, it's
I mean, we're not going to be that long tonight anyways, and I'm gonna try to keep it short so people can.
that is the
That's at 8 o'clock.
Facebook Google Plus group.
8:30.
Yeah.
Oh, you can do it there?
And I put updates out there when I can, like when Adobe
Well, they're not going to be able to see it.
different
No.
notifications of live chats online.
Who's gonna get one of these $5 off?
Tutorials, things like that.
I can't see my monitor.
AU and Twitter or AUG. Sorry?
Google Plus.
Google Plus.
So let me pull this
G
off
Plus.
references real quick before you do that.
Sorry folks, the Jackson is on its way. They are on its way. I'm sorry we're a bit late in starting off.
I could have missed traffic this whole time. Yeah.
Yes, that's another thing with the cloud. You get 20 gigabytes of cloud space, like like Dropbox type thing, but you get 20 gigabytes with the cloud service too, which is a handy thing from Adobe, on their cloud, so you've got storage on their cloud.
So,
So that's
if it's
quite
okay,
a lot
let's
of
start
space.
ScreenFlow.
Yeah, so that's included in the
I mean, do you guys want me to wait for the projector, or do you want to watch this?
Well, she might be way closer now.
Well, she said to me she was 4 miles away.
It's been 10 minutes.
I don't know if I heard any answers. Wait or go?
Thank you all for being patient. I do have a projector at home, so I'll bring it every time from now on. And
From now on.
And nobody else, okay? All right. So we won't have to go through this again.
I'm glad to be the guinea pig. Just hope your stars don't relate to.
And it's not because it's April the 1st, honestly.
April Fool's.
Yeah. We really do have a projector.
There's really a projector coming. What did you want to do? Sorry.
Is there anybody is there any specific
We're
topics that anybody would like to hear about?
Like, is that what you mean, or what?
When
I'm not going to do it.
When you clone or expand, you can get a feed there just like the projector.
I don't know how to clone this.
Yeah. Well, the digital publishing to the iPad is coming in June.
Well, that's in June.
That's in June, and that's Claudia McHugh is coming to talk about that.
Is that already plugged in?
Yes.
Yeah, so you should actually.
After Effects. Now, I had somebody lined up for that, and you know he got a job in Silicon Valley. I thought, how dare you? I mean, really? He's going to come and talk about. He's like, all right, I'll come and talk about After Effects. I'm like, cool. And then his company is moving him to Silicon Valley.
Wow.
I know.
Okay, so then or something?
Well, that's a good idea. Actually, I could do that. I'll keep in touch with him.
Yeah, there should be
The projector will be here, I swear. Do you know how many heart attacks I've had this evening already about this projector?
I talked to a guy at Turner about, we talked about getting to
Show mirroring options?
Yes.
I talked to a guy at Turner who's going to see if he can help us.
Oh, awesome. Oh, that's cool. Because we talked about trying to do a kind of event at Turner, at their Archer Studios, you know. And we have someone who's already spoken to somebody about it for us, so fingers crossed we might be able to get that too. Hey, let's just utilise what we can utilise in Atlanta. There's enough companies and events that are happening here that, you know.
Turner will let you go to the studios.
Yeah.
They're not.
Cool.
You're not bumping your paying customers.
Well, yeah, it'd be kind of cool though if the guy, somebody talk to us or, you know, show us how they do things or, whoa, yes! See that? He ran.
Now the anticipation is better be good, right?
Oh, thank you. Oh, this is Carol, who's awesome, by the way. She went all the way back to
Thank you,
the
Carol.
projector for it. Hey there, how you doing?
Long
time no see.
I have it.
Here. In 285, we turned around. Turns out there's this huge accident. They had the road cut off. So when we took a left, we got turned around. Okay, so then this is back here. So then I get to my office. We find that the key should be no problem. Well, I just hired a new contractor, and he rides a motorcycle. So we did, which is not really doing anything. So anyway, we had a moment, and he thought I said, "Here's the key. Put it in your pocket." So he had now the key. Can't get any better. So I go and my husband's not at home. Now I have to call my husband, and he has to go through the instructions of how to go into this drawer, because my husband's security freak, and open up this cabinet so I can get it. So now I got the key, and we got all the way here. So,
trust me, we appreciate it. You can rub those off. I'll rub those off. Oh, you get the projector.
It's too small. I need a better projector.
I need a smaller board.
I think we have stuff written on there too.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, it's funny. It says buy iMac, and I was just talking about Mac and PC stuff. I didn't even realize. That's just what came. I don't know. I couldn't really come up with anything good to do, so came up with this.
Can we see a little bit?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to start this off pretty slow, and let me know if you have questions, if I'm doing stuff too fast, whatever.
Stop. Start again.
Okay. So. All right, I'm getting director.
Yeah.
No, I'm just say your name.
Okay, so hi, I'm Brad Iroff. I run a company called Kickstand Creative, and I do web and print marketing for small and medium-sized businesses. This will be a presentation on InDesign. I'm going to show you guys a lot of basics, I think, and then there's some more advanced features that you might find interesting. So this is the idea. This is what we're going to create. And I'm used to working on a big screen. Let me see if I can find the window here. I gotta need help. So help's a really good thing. So I'm gonna search for merge, and I want data merge, so it's gonna point me there because there's so many menus in this stuff now. So I just want to show you what it's gonna look like, and then this will give you an idea of what we're doing. sorry, here. So we have Bob's Computers, and this is Bob's mission statement that's right below it. And at the bottom, you can kind of see Bob's Computers behind the grass. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter. I just wanted to show you guys a bunch of different stuff. So if you look here, there's a button that says go back and forth. So notice that it changed to Brad's Computers. So this is something called mail merge or data merge within InDesign. And that's what it's going to be. So I just want to kind of show you how to start a new document. So your default presets, there's actually something interesting in InDesign. I don't know if everybody runs into this, but it's using picos or picas as the default. I changed those to inches because that's what I'm used to. And in order to change that, you've got to close all your documents. Oh wait, sorry. Ooh, I hope I didn't lose that. So anyway, you got to close all your documents and change it without anything open. So you got to go to Preferences and then Units and change it to inches here. So just so you know, the first time you open InDesign, it's going to be picas, which is this, and you want to change it to inches if that's the things that you want, which you probably do. So I'm going to start a new document, and that'll change your defaults here. So when you hit default, everything will be where you want it to be. So margins, that's in, so the spacing between the outer edge and the inside. So I have that as 0.125, which if I get out of this, you'll see this. Well, that's not 1.25. That's the default. This one's 0.5. That's this purple line in here. I'm pretty sure people probably understand what margins are. So I'm going to go New, and I'm going to call it 3 pages just for now, just so we can get an idea of sort of what InDesign is all about, if my computer will work with all this other stuff going on. So I'm going to look here, and pages. Got page 1, page 2, page 3. Is that pretty straightforward? There's something called a master, and this is similar to a lot of other programs that are for publishing. If I just type in test, and all I did was hit T on my keyboard, and then I made a little box, and I typed in test. I held down Shift to make it all caps, and then if I go back here, every page is going to have test on it. So if there's a common item that you want on every single page, that's how you do that. You go to your master. If you wanted multiple masters, you can do that too. So if you're doing, there's a way to make facing pages. So I think I can do it here. New master. I think I need to set it up under preferences, right? So document setup, I got to do facing pages. And then I hit OK, and you'll see the first page is the cover. So that looks kind of weird. Sometimes for me it's kind of annoying because I don't want that to look like that. And there's ways to delete that so you have multiple, so your first pages are really facing. Because sometimes you design your covers separately than your interior pages. I ran into that before. And it was just annoying having that blank page there, kind of a control freak kind of thing. So if you look here, you see facing pages. I'm going to hit Command 1. Well, Command 1 gets you into actual size, I think. Command 0 makes it fit. So that way you can see sort of what's going on. So the document that I did isn't 3 pages, it's 1 page. It was just sales slick, but just want to kind of give you guys an idea of what InDesign is all about. I keep wanting to say PageMaker, which is weird. So there's these boxes, and this is sort of what InDesign is all about. Here's a box. You can put a photo in it if you wanted to. You can put text in it. I'm not sure the difference between these two. I actually always use this one. Does anybody have any idea why you use the X one? Frame tool? It's for pictures. So I've never noticed any difference. I don't know. I haven't never seen anything wrong with using this one. So anyway, maybe I think I can do that in this, right? Command D, and then I can put a photo into it. Yeah. So InDesign demo, I'm going to pick a photo, which is that iMac photo. You'll notice you really don't see anything going on in here because this is a pretty big photo. If I hold down Option and Shift, it'll zoom out, and you'll start seeing what's actually in here. I'm going to actually click in, and you can move what's in there. So the frame is a mask, if you guys are familiar with masks. So that's kind of how, if we go back to the document, that's how I have this showing up. If I click on the blue, and the blue outline will be the frame. If I double click on it, it's the photo. So I'm moving that all around, right? Inside of that frame. So if I go here, you'll see the rest of that photo there. Does that make sense to everybody? Nod your head, yeah? No? Any questions? Going too fast, going too slow? Right, perfect pace, right? So that's basically the gist of InDesign. Thanks for watching. I'm kidding. I gotta laugh. All right, so I'm just kind of going back and forth. I was going to really run through and draw this whole thing, but I think that we're out of time at some level, but and it would be kind of crazy. So, because I tried to do it earlier, and I don't think it really works. Designing takes some type of focus, and I don't think I can talk and design at the same time. So bleed. I kind of wanted to just go over a couple things here. So bleed is when you send something to a printer. Let's say it's a business card. It's 3.5 inches by 2 inches. You would send it to the printer with some extra width and some extra height. So, for instance, they get some extra black at the top here, like on this one. So this red line is the bleed. And if I go to File, Document Setup, you'll see bleed 0.125. You can even in InDesign, if you don't like, if you like fractions, you can do 1/8 inches. Boom, you get the same thing.
Can I just point out to a
Sure.
lot of people that bleed concept might not be real clear?
Okay.
Bleed is like if you have a big purple background and it's flooding, it goes all the way off the edge of the paper, you have to have some excess. It's like making a seam or trimming off the excess pie crust. It has to bleed off the trim edge of where the printer.
It's kind of edge-to-edge printing. So like your printer at home, a lot of times, you'll see a white border around it, and you're like, I don't want that, because that's all your printer can do. It only can go so far to the edge without really ripping the paper or whatever it does. It just doesn't have that functionality where printing presses, they use plates and different things like that, so they can go to the edge. And you want it to go to the edge, so when you have a business card, you can do that. Or a flyer slick like this. Or trim, the one they trim it.
Yeah.
Right. And thank you for all your input. I appreciate that, because, I'm scattered.
And just a comment, I work for the Atlanta, until yesterday, worked for the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we have a $500,000 Xerox digital press, 700 digital press, and it doesn't print out to the edge either.
Really? Yeah.
So.
That's no fun.
But there is a, if you're printing booklets, there's a trimmer that'll trim it back and blah, blah, blah. Things
Right,
like that.
right.
But if somebody's really wanting full bleed, either they have to go with the printing press or
And sometimes,
like if you're printing 8.5 by 11, print on 9 by 12, and take it to Kinko's.
Right.
Yeah,
and I know I've ran into this where they actually didn't do this, but they always throw out the option if you sent them 8.5 by 11 exact, they'll actually shrink it a little bit. They'll cut into whatever you have there, so your margins aren't really what you sent them. You're not getting back what you thought you were going to get back. Where, like right here, that would be a lot smaller. It wouldn't be the right gap that or margin that you would want. So we kind of talked on photos. That's that. There's frames. Let's see. So this one has an object style. Well, maybe it doesn't. So there's different styles. Do you guys use styles a lot that use InDesign? So I had a note here. And styles are really powerful. They're not really necessary, but I think I don't really use them very often because I don't make huge documents. But if I was making a catalog, which I did before at another job, or if I was making a catalog for this job, I would use styles to make sure everything's consistent. So, for instance, this, I guess I was talking about the frame initially. Let's see what kind of style it has. I thought it had an object style, but I guess it's using basic graphic frame, which has 1 point on there as a border. And I go in here and you see all this different stuff. Trying to get it so I can see it too. So if I go to stroke here, you'll see that it has 1 point. I don't know if this, I guess that would be basic too. So I'm going to change it from that to that color. And you can't see it, I think, because of the frame, but Okay, so I keep going back and forth to two different views. There are 3 views under display performance. Well, no, screen mode. Normal, preview, bleed, and slug. And bleed is going to show you what it looks like with the bleed. Preview is going to show it what it looks like cut. And then the one that I keep going back and forth from, and I don't know the names of these, is normal. So normal is sort of your raw moving.
If you just click outside the document W, it'll show you. It's like the invisible is a cord, you know?
Well, I'm using W, but I didn't know what they were called. So I use W.
Yeah, to go back and forth.
Yeah, sure. That's what I'm going back for. I just didn't know it was called normal, and I wanted to show people where it was. So screen mode, I'm going back between normal and preview. So right now I'm in preview. That's what it looks like if you sent it to the printer and it came back correct. This is how it looks, so you can modify and play with stuff. If you look at Bob's computer, you'll see a little dots. That means that it's on the master, where the straight lines mean that it's on the layer that I'm on. So that was the boom. That was the paragraph style or object style. So on this one, it has basic graphics. Now, did you all notice that all of these went to pink because of that? So like basic frame style is what basic graphic frame comes with when you open up a new document. You can modify those if you want and so forth. I have another one that's called middle band, which is this one, and it relates to the background with that one, I believe. So in this case, I used 100% black, and then I just moved it down to 10. So if I move that up to 100%, all that's going to print is the one black color at 10% for that one. Does that make sense for everybody? Yeah, nod your heads. Cool. You have text styles, or paragraph styles and character styles. Character styles I'm using in this really text, and I'm also using paragraph style. So if I click on this and go to paragraph style, super big is what I called this. I think it's Helvetica New, thin, ultra thin, ultra. I think it's ultra thin.
Can you explain how you named it and how you assigned the attributes? Because I think a lot of people aren't going to understand.
Okay, thank you. So this frame, remember I went over here and I made some text. So I did the same thing here. If I highlight that, I can go and change to Helvetica. So I'm typing HELV, and it just brings me right where I want. And I think it was ultralight was the main font. So I just picked ultralight there. I think it changed size, but we'll ignore that. So that is the super big paragraph style.
And you named it super big.
I named it super big.
It was a new style that you named.
Correct.
And you assigned the attributes, the color, the typeface, the size, the kerning.
Right. And then for the really itself, the word really, I named a new one called really. And if I hold down Option and click on that, it adds that attribute to just that text. And if I go in here, see, it just did everything because I was selected on it. But beyond that, it's using this font, which is called Hand of Sean, regular. So I just focused on that word before, where the whole thing is using the paragraph style called super big, and that text is using the character style really. So if you have right, exactly, and you really can override all this stuff as micro as you want, but if you want to keep some global consistency with, let's say, a 20-page document, this is how you would do that. Are styles confusing? Should I go back a little bit to more granular level of InDesign and its tools? Like there's a line tool. Is that where you guys want me to go, or any direction? Anybody?
Well, how did you save them as names?
Okay.
Like really big?
Okay. So the way that I've done it is for this one, let's say that I really like the way that this looks. Mm-hmm. So you can select on that text, and then you can do New Style, and you can do that. There's also a hierarchy that it can be based on something else. Right. Gets really detailed there. But I think that right there would do that as a new character style. Well, let's just change it, and we can do that. I'm in character style, so that's where I want to be. And let's make it something else. I don't know, Gill Sans for fun. And there's a preview button. I saw this tweet, like, why do these programs have preview anymore? I mean, they know we want to see it, and they're always unchecked. So there's one thing towards Adobe, if anybody's watching.
The default should be checked.
Right, you know? I'm opening up this palette. I want to change something. Show me what I want to change. So there's should. I'm going to hit escape. Is that how you guys exit out of stuff, is with escape? Or do you have a better way?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good. I'm glad I'm doing one thing right. So let's say that I want this text to be character style 1. Well, there you go. It's character style 1, which I could name whatever I want to name. Billy's, Bill's, whatever. You guys get it. Does that help?
Yeah.
Cool. So does anybody care about data merge, or is that too crazy?
No, that would be great.
Okay, cool. So data merge. I'm going to hit preview. I think I actually deleted it. No, okay, so it's still showing up. So on my master page, so that's where we're at now rather than the actual document, which is still the actual document. But on the master page, I did something called data merge. And what happens is if I want to create some text, and I want that text to be the phone number, I just click on phone under this data merge palette. I'm going to bring that out. The first thing you got to do is, how did I get that? I think I do new select data source. How about I do a new document and we can go from there, or I think it'll still work. Select data source, changing new data source, whatever. So I've got it all in this InDesign demo. So I've got a CSV, it's called data merge. I'm going to open it, and in that CSV is stuff.
What are the options for a data merge? Comma separated?
CSV is? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I mean, is it just...
CSV is basically...
It's comma separated values?
It's a comma delimited spreadsheet, so...
It's the underlying technology of Excel, right?
Yeah, you can take...
Well, this is an Excel. So this was an XLS spreadsheet. And I got some titles here: company, street, city, state, phone, mission statement. Just some stuff I created.
Will it read XML? Or
Maybe. I don't think I...
JSON, anything like that?
I mean, you could export XML as CSV, I would think, or convert it. I don't know that much about XML to give you the right answer. Let's see if this shows what we could import. It says all readable. It's not going to tell me. But there's also show import. I'm not going to get into that.
Okay.
I think it'll allow you to select a sheet. I think that's probably one thing that lets you do. Maybe some more stuff. I'm sorry about that. I don't know. So here's the phone number. And then I kind of just want to preview what that's going to look like. And I hit preview, and it does that. There's another button here that, let's say that I was done with everything that I wanted to do on this document. It was ready to go. And I had 50 different clients that I wanted this exact sales slick, Bob's computers, Jim's computers, whatever, right? So I'd hit this button, and it would give me multiple documents of the data merge. So then if I wanted to say Bob's computers, well, I wouldn't. I don't know. Let's say that I wanted to change one thing in one of the documents. It would let me. I'd have 50 documents after that. So you really only want to create merge document when you're ready to finish, when you're ready to print or whatever. So you make sure everything looks good, and then you go from there. So on this document, so the reason I put it on the master was because I'm not really sure why I put it on the master. Yeah, I mean, this was only going to be one page, but you're right. It doesn't need to be on the master. That's just kind of what I wanted to go with. I don't really think there's a reason I put it on the master. And one thing that kind of sucks about the master is you can't move things in front. Let's say that you have a 10-page document and you want the background to be different on all of them. You'd either have to make... Can you do a hierarchy of masters? Does that... like layered masters or something? I'm just coming up with different scenarios to trick you guys up.
You can break the style of the master if you like options.
Right. But can you do multiple? I don't know. Anyway, you just can't. Like, I can't change this background color unless I bring it away from the master and it would be on this. Then it wouldn't be this then it wouldn't be this type of template master. So the last thing that I really wanted to touch on is you import multiple types of documents into InDesign. So the hub, InDesign is a hub. It's your document that is contrived of, I don't know if it has a B or a V, of Photoshop, Illustrator, EPS, all those type of files. So this down here, this grass, I'm just going to click on that, and I think it's on my master, so I'm going to go back there. I don't know why I did master, just to show you that you can do masters. And this is actually a Photoshop document that is 300 pixels per inch. It was an image. I changed it up a bit. I'm going to do edit with, I'm going to choose Photoshop, and it'll take a year to load probably. But it'll give you an idea of sort of what is possible. It's using the transparency from Photoshop, so it's a PSD.
Did you place it there?
I did the same thing with, I did Command D, which I think is place. Yeah. I just know the hotkeys. Let me see. So, object.
Actually, it's file.
Oh, is it? Okay. Import maybe?
Place.
Okay, Command D. Yep, so it is place. Sorry. I just know this stuff. Anyway. So yeah, I placed that into a frame. Or if I just do Command D, I can pick it here and do that. I can also do Command D, show import options, and if this had multiple layers, it would let me import just a specific layer, some different things, like I can turn layers on and off. So in Photoshop, you'll notice that it has transparency. That's the checkered board. If it didn't have transparency, it would, well, I guess the whole thing is like that. It would be white or whatever background color you had. So this has a color layer effect on it. I just overlaid some color. It was some grass. I think I have the original image.
Is there a reason why you did it as a PSD rather than...
Yeah, because it keeps full resolution, and it's a native Photoshop file, so I can go back and forth between Photoshop and InDesign and really modify it all day long. So I'll show you that as well right now. So let's say that I didn't like the color overlay.
Every time you're saving it,
yeah, right. PNG wouldn't, but Photoshop, PNG is native in Fireworks. Mm-hmm. Photoshop, the native is PSD, so you just kind of stick with that because it keeps everything that's there.
Okay. I just want to point out, for some people who want to do quickie shortcuts in InDesign, you can do Photoshop-esque things in InDesign under the effects palette. You can add a drop shadow.
Oh, sure.
A JPEG that has a crappy white panel behind it, and you can do a little multiply thing so it looks like there's no background.
Depending on what's behind it, though.
Depending on,
right.
Under that effect,
I learned that from Kim.
You can do a lot of cool stuff in InDesign and not have to import it.
Gotcha. Cool. I think Photoshop is more powerful as far as image editing. Like if I wanted this to be oversaturated, I probably couldn't do that in InDesign. If I wanted it to be really bright green or something like that.
You need a quickie drop shadow.
Sure. Yeah. I'll show you where that is. So InDesign, we can click this. Here's FX, and you've got drop shadow, and it'll put a drop shadow on that text. Boom. Cool. There's all type. There's a good amount of tools that are similar to Photoshop. So I'm back in Photoshop here. I'm just going to save this, and then if I go back, you're going to see there's a links palette. We didn't even really get into this, but let's see, why isn't it updating? Is it because I'm on a master? If I go back here, and obviously it looks crazy, but just wanted to show you guys some stuff. It updated. Usually, sometimes. I don't know if you guys know why sometimes it updates and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you might have to actually click on the...
There's a preset somewhere.
I've never been... It's wonky. I mean, sometimes it's like if it doesn't finish saving in Photoshop and then you go over here, it won't update. If you let it finish saving in Photoshop. So, in any case, let's just do something weird and see if we can get it to... I'm going to do color overlay because I want to show you guys how to update it. I'm going to add that effect back. So now it's whatever color that is. Notice these are all little exclamation marks. Update link, and they will all change. Well, I guess if I was on the parent, then they will all change. So links control every asset you have in InDesign. None of them are saved in InDesign. InDesign is just displaying them for you in a document.
The library, the links library tells you, the user, where it's located on your hard drive, but it also tells InDesign, hey, go grab it from here, and then when you
use this frame on it or whatever.
Yeah, and when you send something out to a printer, you have to gather everything together in one folder, and InDesign now has the feature to collect for output.
Has it always had that, or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Luckily, I never had to deal with Quark except for the exporting into InDesign or importing. So it knows that it's in this same folder. This was the original image. I don't really know if that matters or not. So I deleted the background so it would have transparency. So this ugly yellow color, or kind of pretty yellow color, would come through behind the grass. That's kind of the deal. I'm going through this kind of fast. Does anybody have any questions? Ooh, good. I like questions.
It really has something to do with
and then I'll let them answer it.
It really has something to do with the fonts.
Okay.
Fonts in InDesign and Photoshop, all those fonts, are you allowed to use those? Let's say if a client wanted a business card, can you use those fonts, or are they legal to use for free?
That's a good question. I mean, if you own the license, that's a good question.
The license of InDesign?
Do anybody that does client work, do they make their do they make their clients pay for the license for the font? I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Plus, you can find fonts, and there's all kinds of font manager applications, and there's free fonts.
The only thing that I would consider is how many times you're printing something, like that Hand of Sean font that I had that's on Really. That's a free one. You can download it at whatever font place it is. I'm sure there's a limit.
They really have to decide. They really have to see if that font is free.
But the licenses only allow you to print it a certain amount of times. So like I use Shutterstock for stock photography, and it only allows you to print something 1 million times before you have to pay for it again. Literally 1 million. I mean, it's 500,000. It's crazy. It's a big number. But as far as that goes, I think you're not. I mean, there's no font police out there, as far as I know.
Well,
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, you need to get the cloud in, and you'll have the Fontfolio in the cloud.
But Fontfolio won't work with. I don't think it works with print stuff.
Does it not?
No, I think it's only web.
Adobe fonts, I think technically they don't let you transfer the license. It happens all the time, but I think like when you go to
it doesn't never happen.
You'll get a warning that says, make sure
you guys got
you
that.
own everything to pass.
So what do you do in that case then?
I
If
just
your
send
client
it.
wants.
You could. I just said it. That's the right answer. Remember, guys, this is being recorded by Adobe.
We're sending this to Adobe.
There's much worse than that online.
Of course.
And then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, but it's still.
It's a graphic that
but it still represents the original font, which is what it is. I haven't really heard that in a forum situation. Nobody. You're probably the first this year to ask that question. Which, people ask questions all the time. So, I mean, I don't know. What's the official Adobe answer?
I don't know.
The official answer is pay for it.
Yeah.
Or make the client pay for it.
Hear me that.
That's right. Add it to the...
Just make them buy it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them are only like maybe $29.
Do you want me to show you how to do it? Okay. Okay, the frame style is the same kind of thing. Like this one is a frame, and it's under Object. There's multiple objects you can use. I imagine any object. I really only use frames. I don't use styles that often because usually it's a one-page thing. But I think if you wanted a line, you could do that. So beyond that, this has this basic graphic frame. So middle band is what I call this one. And we can modify that all day long. You can add a drop shadow to it. So I hit OK. Then I go to this one, which isn't on the same layer. I'm just going to make a new one just for fun. And I'm going to call that middle band because I'm already on middle band. Go back and forth. and it's just changing the container. There's some other options in there. I couldn't find where this was, but something that's pretty important is frame fitting options. So if you want, crop isn't what I want. Where is it? That's not what I want. I want to add frame something. Let's do it over here. It's text frame option. So I guess if it has text in it, it'll let you do that. And you can add some padding, which is sort of a web word, but it's also called inset apparently in InDesign. And if you look here, it keeps adding an inset. Yeah, well, it does it all around, right? It does it on the whole. I'm going to revert just to make this a little prettier again. But it does it on the whole thing, so you can add some space. And if you're doing a newspaper type layout or whatever, all of your frames have that. There's also some other interesting stuff I'll kind of go into about frames.
If you're a designer, you hate seeing when somebody gives you a document, they have a margin and they do it by going space, space, space.
Yeah. This makes it completely perfect. And if you, since I never saved, I can revert. So I'm going to revert, and that's going to go back to the original file. And so there's these text frames that we've kind of all been talking about. I'm going to show you guys. I'm just going to do new. Do some text here. I think you guys know what I'm going to do. But if the text overruns what you're doing, you're going to see this little plus sign. What's pretty cool in InDesign too is if you want to do some columns, you just go up here. You got 2 columns, 3 columns. Try that on the web. Yeah. Did you hear the from the web guy? So that's awesome. You know, they're perfect. You can change the gutter width right here. I think. Is that gutter or is it not on there? Where's gutter, guys? Over here. This one. So that's making the width in there bigger. That's pretty cool. And then also you guys noticed when I did this, there's that, right? If I wanted to put the rest of that text down here, boom. Just move that. I can put a photo in there. I can edit all day long. You see it adding it down to the bottom. InDesign's awesome.
Did you drag it to an existing text box?
No, I just since yeah. I don't know what it's called, but you just click on that and it gives you an extra frame. And then it fits to that. What'd you call it? Sorry.
Text overflow.
Okay, text overflow. And then the new InDesign has fit to your text, which I saw somewhere, and that makes the frame so you never have that happen. Didn't seem like it was automatic, but it's there somewhere. Go ahead.
Frame options.
I saw a tool the other night that I didn't know what it was called Data Collector.
I did see that too. I have no idea. I brought this great thing up.
It was going to collect
Have you guys seen that?
No.
Have you seen it? Like when you click on it.
Left-hand sidebar.
Yeah, it's these weird. Let me bring it up. It's this. What is that? I don't know what that is. Somebody figure it out and come back.
I was thinking it was kind of
I thought like you drop things there, like kind of like Shutterstock. You keep your stuff. All right, so somebody post on this page on our meetup. Sorry. Yeah.
It's a conveyor.
What's a conveyor?
It's a conveyor. Oh, it's like super cool.
Tell us.
So if you have stuff from document A, you want to put it in document B, but you don't want to go copy paste.
Okay.
Put it from one to the other. You can put it in the conveyor.
Does it make it a like a group or a?
It's like a really smart group.
Oh.
Okay. And it can carry all kinds of things there. You can pull things out of your conveyor. You can drop it. So
that's something to really look into.
Options like put in conveyor and off the
so like if this then that, if anybody's familiar with that.
Some of the options at the bottom.
So these things turn blue. I don't really want to experiment right now, but it went there. So that's cool. What do I do now? Okay. All right, so I'm going to get out of that. I was going to mention something else about text frames.
You might want to show like text wrap, the text.
Oh, okay.
Like a picture, text wrap.
Yeah. Let's do that. Good stuff. Oh, this is what I was going to show. Paste in place. So you guys have 2 documents. You kind of want some stuff in the same place. InDesign lets you paste in place. It's brilliant. So I'm going to right-click and paste in place, and it's going to go exactly where it was on the other document relative to the document. So Notice that the photo is on top of this stuff. There's these.
Here's an example where you would use that. Say you have on the first page you've got a Mac 19-inch monitor.
Yeah.
And on the second page, the first page you're talking about, this is Mac 19-inch monitor. On the next page you've got a 22-inch monitor.
Sure.
And you want your picture to be in the same place, but you want your text to describe that and wrap around.
So that's what paste in place is good for.
It's good for that.
What I'm going to do now is notice that it's all the text is running over. It's behind this thing, right? It's right there. It's not affecting it. I'm going to do paste in place again. Notice that when I just did paste, it went to the center of the document. I'm going to hit this button, wrap around bounding box. So it wraps. It's these four. There's jump object, wrap around object shape, which I think relates to the actual content inside the frame. This one does nothing, and then this one relates to what's in there, or what relates to the frame. So usually, like WordPress, let's just pretend like we're doing WordPress stuff. You'd put it at the top left, and that's what it would look like. And you can also add some. Where are you? Yeah, where is it, huh?
Command T.
Ooh. Character, though.
No.
I want to give this. No, I'll just move that over a little. Well, that's not what I want. I want like margin. I want some space there. There's a way to do it.
I'm sorry, there's the text wrap button.
Where are you at?
Here it is.
Text wrap. Boom. Oh, okay.
Then you can play with
Yeah.
above, below.
Right. See, now that gives me some extra margin, I'd call it. So boom.
It's an irregular size object.
And it doesn't have to do that. Irregular size objects is going to kind of just mold it around. I'll do that. I'll show you.
But that's what I'm trying to do right now on a catalog.
You could pull these and make a frame around it however you want the frame to relate.
Your irregular size object might have to have a path before.
Right. Well, I
like
made
this?
something.
Does this work?
That's the same size. Like I just made this is a round object, and so I put a shape on that behind it. Just so
Would this work where you can drag the frame around? If I can select it again somehow?
What?
Yeah, you make
Sure.
a shape.
Right. Oh, I got a mouse over here. I can use that.
Or you could fake it and tell it to detect the clipping path. It's really fake, down and dirty. You can tell it, if you click on that, you go up above and it's under object, you can tell it to detect a path.
Oh, right. Yeah, I've used that before.
That's a cheater, but
Yeah.
it can work.
It detects where the transparency is if it had transparency. Right. So that might work. So if it's a PSD with transparency, it would wrap around that grass that was at the bottom. What you can also do is if you were really interested in it, well, which you are. I'm going to go to Illustrator. This is some stock stuff. Wait till it opens, and that's how I got this little guy in here. I actually found this out a little bit ago that you could actually paste anything vector into InDesign and then make it do whatever you want. So like, I think, I didn't try this earlier, but I think it would work. If I put this in there, does it go in there? So it's just giving me some different options. You guys ever done this with this kind of deal? No? Yeah, so the photo is actually in that path. It's somewhere. It's coming. There it is. You see the frame? You guys see that, right?
Yeah.
So there's that background. So if you like wanted that thing to have the same background as the Mac background, which is what it's doing, boom. That's everything you ever wanted. Right. Well, you create the mask in Illustrator if you wanted to. So it's giving me this. I don't know what this is. Okay. So that was from this. So like, you really can't do this fun kind of stuff like Dan does in InDesign. I guess you could, but you really don't have the kind of tools, I think. So if I just paste that in there, it's vector. I can edit it all day long if I can select one of these deals.
Wow.
So you can bring in vector stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Somebody had a question I might have heard. No. Any question? Yeah. You did have a question earlier. Sorry.
You were doing the 3 columns. You had a big block of data and you made it into 3 columns.
Yep.
What happens if you wanted to you got that right, and you wanted to put that on the web?
I don't know.
Transferred.
I don't know. You can't do that with this. I mean, that's kind of my answer, but there's no there's no code. You can do HTML. I'm not sure if that's really real. Has anybody done that with columns? I mean, the web doesn't do columns yet. It will someday. 6. If 5 does it, it's called what's it called, guys? Somebody knows what it's called. Huh? Well, HTML5 has column relative things, but it's not real yet.
You still have to position your.
With this, you don't now. You can say like you, yeah, you can say you can do like instead of saying div, you say something else. I can't remember what it's called. Sorry, but it's awesome and it's not available yet. Like everything.
Yeah.
So the only way you can use this on the web is as an attachment?
That's a good. I mean, you wouldn't. I mean, you do PDF. It depends on what your goals are, right? If you want the text, it just depends on what your goals are.
Okay, so like you want to do
InDesign's for print, really. The only reason I've seen it for web is for mock-ups. There's actually a really good article. I can't remember what news. Ohio newspaper, or there was a newspaper where they used InDesign for the whole workflow to show how it was responsive, and it worked really well. Just look up newspaper InDesign web, and you'll find it. I could have had that link, but go ahead.
So say you want to have a formatted document as part of your web product. You created it in InDesign, save it as a PDF, and have pages that flip like a book. Can you make your own flip book?
There's HTML5 does it.
There's also products, like there's tons
Yeah, you can buy them and they do it. Yeah.
You can subscribe.
I know Theme Forest, I believe, has some for like $9, and it'll do it for you.
Also in the PDF, when you export the PDF, there's all kinds of really quick, easy ways now to embed links and
Sure.
embed, video.
I was going to show that. I actually put an awesome video in this awesome document. Right here, I put this video in this. Well, I did. It's huge. It's 22 megabytes. It might be this one. Yep. So click play. It's a WordPress video. I don't know if you guys use Treehouse, but that's this dude. So, sorry. It's just to learn how to use WordPress. It's about WordPress. Yeah, sorry I talked about WordPress a lot. So you can play videos in, you can lay everything out, throw a video in it. And I actually think that this is embedded at that point. It's not even, it's not linking to that. It's like I could delete this and it's still in that because it's 22. Yeah, exactly.
So that could go to a PDF.
It is a PDF.
Yeah. It's clickable.
Yep. It's 22 megabytes, so it's much bigger. Sorry.
So you save it to a PDF and then you can play the video?
Yeah, that was a PDF that I just played it from, and it scaled the video to the size that the frame was, which is cool. First time I ever did that. It was in the PDF. It's embedded. Yep. Yeah. So I'll just do it on this one. Yep. So here's that video.
Just a big PDF.
It'd be yeah. I don't want to crash. Maybe I'm not going to crash it. Let's see. So I'm going to zoom out real far. Oh, that's always fun. Get back in here, and then there's also some fitting stuff that we didn't even little touch on. Yeah, this is the whole line thing that I wanted to show you. Where'd that video go? Anybody?
You eyeball it.
I think, is that the frame for it? So there's fit to frame proportionally. So there's a couple fitting. So the frame will fit to the content. So fit frame to content. I guess I can show how that works. So for instance, this one. I'm going to make the frame pretty big. So notice the frame's bigger than what's in it, right? Can you guys see that? So here's the frame. I'm going to just do it in a new document to make it a little more obvious. So the frame's there. If I click on there, that border is the actual photo inside the frame. You can obviously mask it manually if you wanted to, but you can also just fit that one went width-wise. So now if I go in here, it's the same as the width of the frame. There's also a stretch one, and what did that do? That did the height fit frame proportionally. I just usually play with these to see what I want to do. So that one scaled it. I'd never want to do that. You notice that it stretched it vertically. That fits whatever content is in it to the frame. Usually you don't want to do that. This one centers it. It's already centered, so you're not going to see anything change. If I go smaller, maybe move it over there, hit center, boom. So center is pretty cool.
Can you show them how to align multiple
Yep,
objects?
getting there. I'm going to do that. So there's the photo. It's the same size as that frame. I'm going to do this one over here, this one over here. My favorite part about InDesign and Fireworks is distribute. That's something that we don't have in Photoshop, and I've tweeted and I've Facebooked them, and they don't listen to me. But I guess the reason is, I don't know what the reason is. So anyway, I'm going to select all three of these, and then I'm going to go to Window. Well, I guess I have them up here, but I'm going to bring up the palette anyway. Where are you? Layout, Align. So there's some pretty cool tools in here. So Align, this is going to center them all, right? That's pretty obvious. It also relates to what you're talking about. So selection means the content that you're selected. If you choose page, that obviously centered everything to the page. So I still can click this. It'll go to the left of the page, go to the right of the page. If I hit up, everything's going to go up top, so they're all on top of each other. So I'm going to do that. Go back center. Let's say that I want a 1/2 inch, 0.5 IN, between every single one of these. Just hit that, and there's a 0.5 inch between every single one of them. Show me how to do that in Photoshop, my friend. You can't. What you usually do is I will show you, this is how I do it, is I make a lot of stupid guides. I zoom in. I get my info palette open. I hit marquee. I say I want it to be 150 pixels. I put another stupid guide, and then I keep going over and over and over again. Well, not on this situation, but that's obnoxious. So Photoshop, listen to this.
So you can start stuff here and end it up in Photoshop if that's what you want?
No, you usually don't want to go from InDesign to Photoshop. I can't think of a reason why. InDesign is your last stop. It's I'm sending this to print. It's only for print. I mean, that's really the thought of it. It's a program to publish, or not publish. It's a program to print. Publish to print. You could do it to web too, sure.
But you import your content.
Import your content, format it, organize it, move it around.
But it's a great, the control you have over type.
Yeah.
Is the best.
Right.
Type setting.
Can you save something as a PNG?
A PNG could be imported into a picture box here. You could save, like if you did something here.
I can even
you
copy
end up
this.
saving it as a JPEG or saving it as a PDF and then going through Illustrator to eventually get to a PNG. But this is not Photoshop. This is.
So you can go from InDesign to Photoshop as a smart object, which is a vector frame per se, but everything in that is still raster. A lot of people think that if they save a picture as an AI, that it's turned into vector, but that doesn't happen. You need lines for vector. So like everything in here, if I go in here, you see all these lines.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about. What is that?
This is vector. So yeah, this is a file that I opened. Yeah.
But you will get the occasional client that'll send you something saved as an EPS or.
Yes.
Well, they send you a JPEG and then save it.
It's like a 72 DPI JPEG.
Right.
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
I want to know why it can't do all that for you.
Well, because it's vector. I mean, because it's
Why
raster.
can't you just open it in Illustrator and it'll do it all for you?
You can trace stuff, but it never
It's
comes out
not
right.
very good when
Sure.
you trace.
Hands up.
No, it's not good.
Nobody? We're good?
What?
Hands up. Any questions? That wasn't obvious. Sorry, I was talking slang. I don't know. So, what are you impressed with that Align stuff, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We had a bet and I won.
I found the alignment, but it doesn't align
Yeah.
to the document. It aligns to the elements themselves.
It gives you all this stuff, but none of the good stuff,
Right.
like distribute.
But a pro like me don't care. I drop guides all over the document, and I'm good.
So let's say you're ready to print this, right? So we want this to go to print. I'm going to revert because it's got some extra crap on it. Excuse my language. Revert. We're good, right? So this is a beautiful document. So that's how I got that vector thing in there. I changed some text, right? I think I explained everything here, right? Is there anything missing? It's a beautiful document, right? Everybody wants one. I'm just going to hit Command E for export. I'm going to choose PDF. I'd like everybody's input that actually sends print stuff to print stuff, because I usually do a couple things that I don't know if everybody does or not. So if I just wanted page 1 because there were multiple pages, I choose range. There's not, so if I hit all, it's fine.
Often when I hit range, it says like page V or something like that. I mean, it has a...
Maybe the master. And do you ever do cut? Do you ever do cut?
Huh?
Do you ever do like cut transforms or whatever, like paths, so they can cut the document, like borders and stuff like that? No. Range, you can do a couple of things. I mean,
whenever I hit range, it doesn't give me 1, 2, 3. It says page V.
I'm not sure.
I think it'll use Roman numbers, but I don't know if it's set that way. Maybe your defaults are.
All right, so this is some pretty important stuff. I always turn all of this off, and I would like your input. I never got your name, Ms. Print Lady.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
I'm Sue Berline.
Sue.
I'm also at the Freelance Forum, which is another great group in town. And if anyone's interested, let me know. But yeah, it's I would just say if you're doing anything, you're designing in print, unless it's a simple one page or one little card kind of thing, and you want to do it in Illustrator, Adobe InDesign is unbelievable. It's the best thing for multi-page.
Well, they just saw my skills. They know.
You're right. It's just, it's
I'm kidding.
because it's such a robust, vast
You get lost.
program, you're using buttons that I don't even use.
Really?
I get to the same, functions that
Sure.
you do, but I have my own little shortcuts. There's pull downs. There's, you can use a one line. So many ways that it's interesting to see how somebody else does it. The one thing you can tell when somebody sends you their InDesign file, like maybe they had a previous designer who worked on the newsletter and they bailed and they need you to, this happened to me a few months ago, and I had to pick up somebody else's InDesign file. And it's very revealing to see what's, it's sort of like,
Welcome to my world.
it is.
Yeah,
like
if you do
turning-
pre-press, I mean, that's probably crazy.
When you see how some people are doing, like, they don't do tabs, they do a million spaces.
Yeah,
or
sure.
Doing 16 paragraph returns instead of just doing a nice clean format. The key thing is to do as few moves as possible.
And so where do I
Make it
show
really
spaces?
clean.
Where do I show spaces in here? You can see dots. I never really use it, but it's view.
Show invisibles, type menu.
Once you're in you can do it like
by the bottom. Show hidden
Command
characters.
Shift I.
Yeah, so these are returns. No, they're not returns. Are they just ends? I thought they'd be returns, but maybe not. Yeah. So like you'll see these extra things.
That's the end of the.
If you really care, like if you didn't want to see spaces, like, and the find feature is great too. You can find spaces. You can do some really custom, good find replace stuff, which I've used before. Sure, right. So like I always do find 2 spaces, replace with 1, and change all. And there was none.
2 spaces after a period is like great if you're a secretary.
Right. You don't do that anymore. Right. It's not for publishing. Yeah, newspapers don't have that, so we don't have that. So I wanted to go and export though. Will you walk with? Go ahead.
InDesign is not Word. If I get a client that says to me, "Well, I really like what you did in InDesign. Now give it to me in a Word file."
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It's not going there.
Right.
So,
yeah.
It's
Sure.
not.
Yeah, Word will add a lot more stuff to it. It's very bloated at some level.
You can recreate it in Word if somebody wants to pay you enough money.
So who wants to send this to the printer? Raise your hand. Come on, 2 people, 3,
Okay, I'll send it.
5. Come on. All right. So we want to send this to the printer, and I'm going to call it final at the end, right?
Final.
No, we don't do final. Brad does V. I do V1, V2. So like if it's my second revision, never put the word final because you're going to change it. So here's print. I'm choosing Adobe Print rather than Adobe Interactive. I'm going to hit save, and it's going to give me this PDF fun window one day.
So you always save
No,
it
it's not.
a PDF then, if it's going straight there?
Yes, or sometimes they want native files, which means they'd give InDesign. So there's two things.
If you go to package, you'll be able to see if there are any mistakes.
I was going to do that after, right when she said that, I was like, I think I should package first.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that warns you.
It may not.
When you make a
All right, so package, what it does is it goes out, it grabs all your fonts, it checks if you have anything with RGB space, which is bad because you want to convert it to CMYK, but I think you said it's okay sometimes now, right? You mentioned RGB in Dan's.
No, RGB
Never.
is not okay. It will give you a warning.
Well, didn't you say that some printers want RGB? I thought that was weird.
Some of them ask for JPEGs and CMYK.
No, at his meetup. Never mind. Maybe it was somebody else. I swear I heard you say that, and I was like, Anyway, all right, so this checks to see if you have all your fonts, if all your links are available. Sometimes they might be missing after you came back to the document and you moved it or something. And so these have RGB color space. We don't really care. Anyway, I'm going to hit package, and it needs to save. So I'm going to say, I don't really want to save because I think I changed some stuff. I'm going to save, whatever. You can put instructions, which I never do. Printers probably want some of that. Do you pre-press? No?
No, I'm not a pre-press guy. But I
Okay.
always put
What would you write here? I never do.
I always put contact information.
Please print awesomely.
Yeah.
Put your name and address.
I just usually put the contact.
I like cats. Okay.
And like what hours whoever is going to be available to answer that phone.
I'm sure if you said some cool quip, they'd like treat your product a little better.
Like
you
me
know?
on Instagram.
If you were funny somehow. I think I'm funny. Anyway, continue. So I'm going to pick where I want it. It's going to make a folder, which is kind of annoying, but because I already have a folder, because I'm organized. So and it has the word folder, which we all name folders. Copy font. So that's going to pull your illegal fonts into this. It's going to take all your links, graphics. I'm going to hit package, and it's going to say, "There's your restrictions." Is that she's not here anymore?
Just hit OK.
Well, I know, but she's anyway. So I'm going
She
to hit
don't want to
OK.
be part of this, man.
So now it takes everything, and boom, it puts it all in this by Mac thing. Gives me fonts, shows the instructions, links, all the photos that were in it, blah blah blah. So now this would be the right file in a good workflow to open back up because it's a different file than that one. I don't know why it says it's changed. Something was changed, so it said update. That means that one of my links was a little bit different than it was before I saved. Right. Yeah, but I don't know. But anyway, so now I'm going to export. Command D. There's my V1. It's adding PDF at the end. I don't want that. I'm going to put it on my desktop because that's where I always do it. And I want to make sure it's to print. You can do EPS. One thing that InDesign doesn't do, and I'm not going to talk about this, but it doesn't outline your fonts. There's a tricky way to do it, which is kind of cool. Yes, sir? You got to do transparency, overlay, weird stuff. I have it under here. It's under outlines. So you have to
From your PDF.
into PD. So there's a way to put a transparency flattener on it. It's complicated and I really can't explain it, but I know that if I choose this, it's going to outline my fonts. Otherwise, it's just going to make it a normal PDF.
The other thing maybe people want to know is like those profiles.
Yep.
Depending, you might ask your printer, whoever the printer is, which profile to use. And some printers actually have a custom profile they'll send you to put in there that actually makes it work well.
The printing world is insanely convoluted. Color, monitors, printing machines. I mean, if you wanted to spend the next 30 years trying to figure this stuff out, you could. And I think in 30 years, you still wouldn't understand what you're doing. I was just going to ask, like, how long? When do you become the professional? I know everything about. You never do.
Because
it changes every week.
But yeah, I mean, still, do you even know what happened 10 years ago? Like, can you say everything that happened 10 years ago? It's just yeah. But what I mean is like there's so many different variables.
You communicate with your vendors.
Sure.
And printers. You give them what they need to the specs they provide to you, and the good thing is get the info up front. Don't assume, because otherwise you're going to be preparing a file that the printer won't even use, and then you're going to be working till 3 in the morning on a Friday night because you gave them the wrong.
Ask them what bleed they want. Maybe what a good black to use is.
I have a client that is an ad agency, and I'm not going to name it, but they're over at Galleria, and they're a sports marketing.
All right. Wait, so I'm going to Google that. Go ahead. Sports marketing Galleria agency.
Their account service people drive their jobs. and they're account service people thinking they are creative people also. So they will open a job, Jack, they will open a job and say, design this. And I'll say, okay, what are the specs? How big does it need to be? Is it going to print? What's it going to do? I don't know, but just start working on it. And
Right, yeah.
I'm like,
what size business card? Oh, any of them. I wanted it square. Cause then you have to. I mean, layout is layout looks simple because it took forever to get there. That means that you did a good job if it looks simple, right? So usually I use high quality print if I'm not doing outline, but I change up all these things. So what were these? Optimized press web, but that doesn't seem to affect printing. They don't care. Somebody yell at me if I'm wrong. Compression, I just don't trust this, so I always just don't. I trust compressed text in lines because it's just ones and zeros and points and stuff, so I'm okay with that. There's real no manual for this stuff as far as I've ever figured out. Marks and bleeds, you have to add the bleed if it wasn't there, or if it's in the document, you have to say use it. Yeah. If not, you want to add something different. You can put 0.05, whatever, and it'll add it for this specific purpose. Printer marks, that adds like CMYK on the sides and stuff. If you're sending it to print, you never do the printer marks. This is only for testing at home, printing it on your printer to see what's going on.
If you're sending something to a printer, it might be oversized and you want to cut it down. Yeah, you always want to have leads.
Like the ones that I use, they have this automated online thing, so I push it up to them, and if it has that, it doesn't work.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, but like a regular sheet fed, you might have odd sizes smaller than your sheet. You want to have those marks on there.
Okay. And I don't really understand what you're saying. Say that.
Another way. It's a sheet fed printer. Say it's 8.5 by 11, but you're actually printing say a 7 by 8.
Okay.
You want to have the crop marks on it because they're going to have to cut into the sheet. And it's not. It's not a.
They're using oversized paper. I got you.
Yeah, but it's not a standard size. Like a lot of the internet printers, you have like standard size
templates
formats.
and whatever, right.
They drop everything in the multi-imposition. But if it's just like a...
So you guys have clients that'll actually pay for that stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes. All right. We haven't printed yet, but...
Yeah, I have a question. Is the appropriate tool to use if you want to do something like pattern paper, or do you export the patterns from Illustrator?
I'd use Illustrator. Well, because you're just going to send them one pattern, right? One swatch.
Now a repeating pattern on the paper. InDesign doesn't allow you to do that. You have to kind of import it into InDesign from Illustrator, or how does that work?
You could paste the vector if it's vector into InDesign. I know Illustrator, though, has a function that allows you to keep repeating it. I've used that at some point that I remember, like with lines to make hatches and stuff.
There's a palette that creates patterns.
Right, yeah, well there's that too.
Just give it one vector, and it'll repeat it, and then you can paint it.
Let's see if this has it, as I just go away from the printing. We're going to print, I promise. Let's just try this. FX, is there background, fill? I guess not. Photoshop has that. Has pattern. Let's help. PATERN. Nothing. Does that spell right?
PATTERN.
Yeah, nothing. No patterns here, I think. Yeah. I'm sure some fancy person on the internet's done it though. It does scripts and all that stuff. So, what's the purpose? Like what?
Like if you're designing like a invitation or a wedding card or something, you wanted to have a really nice pattern.
You'd probably do it in Illustrator and then just import that document.
Yeah, if you want it to be like a watermark or something, just create an Illustrator.
Or like a pretty, she wants like pretty, fancy gargoyles or whatever that's called.
And then bring that into one, and put that background.
All right, I'm going to print. Ready?
He's going to print.
I'm going to print, guys. I'm not going to do final either. I think people watching? All right. So compression, I never do those. Does anybody do those? Okay, so you turn them off too. I don't know why we do that. We just don't.
It depends on the printer.
Yeah. Can I suggest one thing?
Do it.
Those bottom left, save preset.
Yeah.
All of your favorites.
You can make them these.
You can make your own preset.
Right. Right. Like I have the outline one, so that's the one I use to do If you Google transparency flattener text outline, you'll find the thing that'll do that. I don't know if you guys play with that. You don't really need to now. I mean, PDFs embed the fonts, so a lot of times you're good. They don't need outlines. Marks and bleeds, we talked about that. Output, I do no color conversion because I know what colors I have in my document. If you have RGB stuff and you want InDesign to take care of the conversion, you could do convert to destination, pick this, which is swap v2. I think that's CMYK, and then that will convert it. So anything that's in there that's RGB will convert. Include destination profile. I don't know what that means. I would probably do it if you're doing destination. Advanced. Never mess with any of this. Transparency flatteners goes back into doing outlines, but I wouldn't worry about those. And then these are just some information. You could do a password if you wanted to. That's awesome. Export. It's missing stuff. We don't care. And then there it is. My beautiful PDF.
All right.
Boom.
Yeah.
And then there's some fancy stuff in here, and we'll be done after this. Print production. You can go and see what is going to happen. If you do output preview, and if I can bring this over because I have a huge monitor. I have a bigger monitor, and there it is. Okay, so here's your separation. If I roll over this black, you'll see that there's a little bit of yellow in there. Well, I don't know why there's... Oh, okay. I guess I could go into all that. But it's using the 10% yellow that's behind it. You can do knockout text. If you're interested in just printing black and you have another thing, knockout text will... I think is that what you call it, knockout text? It'll not print anything behind it. It'll just be paper with your black copy. So you can also turn all these off. So I can see just what's printing cyan. So there's, like on this border, there's 70% cyan on that. This is really important because then you can see what's actually going on. If you do warnings, which is somewhere, it'll show you where there's too much stuff. So this is 280. What do most printers recommend? 280 is probably the limit since this is what's here. Any thoughts? Ideas? Okay. So the green here, we're over 280. We're at 299. That means that there's going to be a lot of ink in that area. That's bad. It's not bad, right? I mean, this is just a photo, so it's going to be what it's going to be. But
depending on your printer, sometimes they will
I'm sure,
that after the
right?
fact.
I'm sure they have a script that they run your document through, and it fixes that. Or I'm not sure, but I'm sure good printers do that because they want their stuff to come out, and you'll be in good shape. Camera. I don't know. Any more questions? Brian? Kim? So this is showing where there's too much ink. This is under window. No. View. I don't know. Where was I?
You're in the Acrobat file, right?
Yeah. Maybe. Let me see. Yeah. Let's go back. And this is in Adobe. You have to have the Pro version. I don't think it shows up in Acrobat. Or it doesn't show up in Viewer. What's the other one? There's a free one and there's a paid one.
Oh, Reader.
Doesn't show up in Reader, so you don't have this in Reader. View. Where was it? I don't know. Output preview somewhere. And you get this.
There it is.
How did I get there? Window.
I think you got it from that palette right there.
Tools. It's right here. Tools. Print production. And that gives you this little drop down. If sometimes it's not there. So you do output preview, and then you can do simulate blacking too, which will kind of dim it down. Color warnings, and this will show you wherever it was it did before. I don't know. You guys saw it, I swear, right?
Right. It's on camera.
They're separated. It is on the camera. Oh, yeah, total area coverage. There we go. So if you look there, that's where there's too much ink. Where everywhere else, like the black has like 100% and then 10, so 110's cool. But the green is where it is oversaturated. There's too much ink. And I think depending on the printer you're sending it to and the printer they're using is determined what that number is. So maybe 500 is good, but it's up to them. You know what I mean?
All right, well, thank you very much,
Sure.
Brad.
Glad to help.
And thank you again, Carol.
Thanks for being patient. I'm glad you guys had fun. I had fun. Did it seem like it was my first one ever?
No, you did a good job.
You're awesome.
Thanks, man.
Even better if you brought a projector.
Hey,
Oh,
hey.
great.
We don't talk about the projector.
Don't keep the projector.